The Spear, Minecraft's newest weapon, said to be the strongest weapon that Mojang ever added to the game. But is that even true? Yes, until it definitely has its advantages, and it should not be underestimated by any means. But is it as OP as our it sounds? Not with damage. The spear damage is based on the speed you are going. The faster you are going, the higher the damage. The slower, the lower. Yada yada, you already know this. But on its own, it's not the best weapon. On a normal attack with it having sharp 5 and no speed, it does close to nothing of damage on a guy with Prot 4. And even if you alternate between a jab and a charge attack, it still kinda sucks. A thing you can do without any items is using the height in your advantage. Since you gain a lot of velocity whilst falling, you can take advantage of that to gain some extra damage mid-fight. Just remember, the spear takes some time to actually do damage, having a slight cooldown depending on the variant of the material of the weapon, and the range of the spear is 2 to 4.5 blocks of distance. So if you get into close range to your opponent, you're kinda fucked. Another thing that can happen is your opponent having a spear too. This makes it a high risk game for both of you if you are in the same gear. Why, you may ask? Because the momentum you have, if you go for a spear charge attack and miss, and he hits you with his charge attack, even if he's not moving at all, your momentum and speed carries to his attack. Is this a good way to counter Electromacing? I don't know, but at least it seems funnier than spamming slow falling at your opponent, even if riskier. Two last things before we go to combos. Strength does not affect the charge attack of the spear. The only thing that changes its damage is the speed. The jab attack, on the other hand, can be affected by strength, so take that into consideration. Second thing is that the spear does continuous damage if you don't stop running after your opponent. Now, on to variety. As I said, there is only as much as you can do with just the spear, so let's go to the fun part. There's the obvious elephant in the room, accurate switching, since it makes the spear feel like the most OP shit in the entire game. But, as a good content creator that I am, I'll put it in the end of this chapter. First, I'll talk about ways to use the spear. The most obvious way to use the spear are literally in the title of the update they were added. Mounts of Mayhem, more specifically, the mounts part. Using a horse, camel, or nautilus is actually a very good option. Obviously, you could also use a strider or a pig, but let's be real, why would you ever do that? Now these first 3 mobs mentioned are really good early game options, especially the camel and the nautilus, because of their boost when you hold down the space bar. So don't trust the chart on the wiki, it's wrong. What do you mean 10 hearts? This shit does 24 to an iron golem and 4 to a prot 4 dude. Like, what? What the fuck? Also, I don't fucking know why my camel was drifting, but sure. Lunge is also useful if you know how to time it correctly. Who am I kidding? It's ass. Speed potions are actually pretty good, but only if you use knockback 2 and speed 2, since it has more chance of doing 1 heart of damage. You can do the little combo I told you, jab charge, jab charge. You can also use KB1 or speed 1, but this combo does more damage, and it's safer, but drains a lot more of your inventory space and potions. You can also use wind charges to propel yourself into the air, or you can also use other weapons to give you a little boost. Quite literally. You can use the propulsion of a trident with 3x3 to do 2 hearts in a full prot 4. Or you can just blow boosts to your opponent, which also does 2 hearts. And now, the most awaited part of this shitty video, the Elytra. Holy broken item that Mojang refuses to balance. 3.5 hearts of damage in a full prot 4 dude, with no cooldown whatsoever. Which is less than the camel charges, like somehow. This kills a full netherite player in 3 hits, less than 5 seconds. To be fair, it's still less OP than a mace, but who said you can't have both? This is spear macing, a technique where you charge an attack of a spear on your opponent, and just before hitting the ground, you attribute switch to the mace. This, if your opponent is on 3.5 hearts or lower. Even if they have a totem on them, it pops them, and then kills them with the mace hit. What? And you know what's even more OP? Attribute switch. The spear having 4.5 blocks of reach enables the player to just reach where they couldn't before. It makes sword combos even better. Mace hits that shouldn't hit, or just become an airbender, flying through the skies with nothing but a spear with lunge 3, food, and your bare fucking hands. Attribute switching and this weapon are like tied together. Without it, the spear would be pretty damn shit. You are seeing me with a lot of excitement or rage and all, but you might not even understand what's happening. Attribute switching is when you pick a weapon and switch to another in the same tick as you hit your opponent. Doing this picks the cooldown of the first weapon and its base damage, and adds the enchantments and attributes of the second one. I'll give you some examples. It can be used in shield breaking, with a sword and an axe. Use the cooldown of the sword, since it's slower than the axes, and you apply the attribute of the axe in the attack, that is, breaking the shield once it hits them. But there's a problem. The spear breaks everything about this. Normally, it applies the attributes of the second weapon only, but the range of attack is not an attribute, it's simply a stat of the weapon. Which means you can use the lower cooldown of the sword compared to the spear and still have the 4.5 blocks of range, or use the cooldown of the spear which is lower compared to the mace, gaining the 4.5 blocks of reach as well. What the fuck? This is so broken but so funny to do also. This is the same thing that you use on the dash. Use the cooldown of your bare hand or equal like a wind charge, an attribute switch to the spear with lunge 3 on it. And now, and with good reason, you may be thinking, well Dant, since it's so OP combined with other weapons, how the fuck do you counter it? Well, it really depends on what the hell your opponent is doing. Since slow falling doesn't affect the spear, you may think, oh yeah, let's just use slowness. And you would be right, if jumping didn't exist. So imagine you have this loadout, a simple diamond simply kit, in a hypothetical scenario where your opponent is always somewhat better than you. And if he's using just a basic kit with a spear, you should be fine. You just need to keep a close range and use the shield a lot. Since it's a lot of keybind to manage in one fight, he's most likely gonna main sword too. They'll always be able to catch up with you though, if you are running, and always be able to run because of lunge. In a world where they have a spear and a mace, good luck. Your best shot is that they don't have a breach mace, so you can hold fight them, maybe. And if they are maining Elytra alongside those two things, your best bet is to fucking run. You are not killing one of those if they are not in an enclosed space and you have explosives or a mace of your own. If you have, somehow, by divine intervention, to have to fight them, spam webs. Try to catch them with their elytra on in a web so you can crit them out until they die. You can also shield the spear attack, but well, they can just... So yeah, it's kinda hard to do anything about it. So let me recapitulate what I said. Is the spear good? Fuck yeah. But only if you have the other weapons and methods of using it correctly. If we are putting it in a tier list, I'd give it like B tier, just above the bow. It's super niche, so I'd categorize it as a weapon for movement and medium damage. Not as reliable as a sword or mace, but not incredibly specific as a trident, you know? Either way, wanna see more videos, click on the video on the left to see my PvP tutorial. And if you wanna have some sneak peeks of my videos, join my Discord. I normally show some progress to people there. Like, sub, bye bye, have a good day.